Hello, and welcome to today's lecture on research in language education. In this session, I will introduce the concept of research, and I will explore the characteristics, and I will discuss why we conduct research and how it implies or applies to education. Let's get it started now. What exactly is research? What do you mean by research? Research is a systematic process of inquiry or investigation aimed at answering questions or solving problems. In language education, research is not just about finding new facts. It's about the deepening, going in depth, our understanding of how people learn or use the language. Research involves gathering data, analyzing it, and interpreting the findings to contribute to a particular field. So, in the context of language education, it might involve studying language teaching methods, how students acquire language, or how language impacts cultural identity. Now let's look at some of the key characteristics of research. Good research is always systematic. That means it follows a clear and structured process. It is objective. A good research is objective. That means it aims to reduce bias and subjectivity. And it is empirical. So research is always based on observable, measurable data. And research is replicable. That means the study can be repeated with similar results. And it is an ethical process. So it follows the principle that ensure fairness and integrity in the research process. But why we conduct research in the first place, or the rationale or the purpose of research are clear. So why do we do research? The question. We do the research or it helps us advance knowledge. It means we can explore new ideas, new theories, new findings that enhance the understanding of language education. It helps us solve the problems. That means research can help identify some issues in current teaching methods or strategies and address the challenges faced by language learners. And it helps us improve practices. By understanding what works well, we can implement better strategy for our teaching and learning languages. Research in education is not just theoretical. It has real world applications. For example, research can help improve classroom practices, inform curriculum development, even shape language policy. It can also provide valuable insights into how different teaching methods impact student outcomes. In language education, research can tell us which strategies are most effective for teaching, for example, pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary. It helps us design more inclusive and culturally responsive language programs. Ultimately, research empowers teachers and you all learners to continuously improve. Research in language education is about seeking answers to important questions and using those answers to improve teaching and learning practices. So now I want to discuss about the research paradigm. Okay. Research paradigm, there are two major research paradigm I can discuss now. Positivist, that means quantitative, and post-positivist, that means qualitative. Let's break them down. Number one, first, let's talk about positivist paradigm. It is often associated with quantitative research. This approach views knowledge as objective and measurable. Researchers who follow this program or this paradigm believe that reality can be observed, quantified, and analyzed through statistical methods, numerical way. Quantitative research often involves surveys, tests, experiments where data is collected in numerical form. The goal is to identify patterns, relationships, and causal effects. So, for example, a study might measure the effectiveness of new language teaching method by analyzing student test scores before and after the method is implemented. So now, let's move to the post-positivist paradigm. This is linked to qualitative research. Unlike quantitative research, qualitative research focuses on understanding the meaning behind human experience, emotions, behaviors, perceptions. So, qualitative researchers believe that reality is subjective and context dependent. This means they focus on in depth exploration of individual experiences. Common methods include, for example, interviews, focus groups, observation. For example, a qualitative study in language education might explore how students perceive the role of culture in learning a new language. So, using interviews and open ended questions to gather rich and descriptive data. So, what is the key difference between these two paradigms? While the positivist approach, that means quantitative, seeks to measure and generalize findings across population, the post-positivist approach, that means qualitative approach, aims to understand the complexities of the human experiences in a specific context. So both paradigms have their strength. Quantitative research is useful for drawing broad conclusions, and establishing causal relationship, while qualitative research provides deep insights into individual perspectives and contextual factors. So, in short, we can say quantitative research is broad to narrow, and qualitative research is narrow to broad. So, both quantitative and qualitative research paradigms, they offer valuable tool for exploring language education. So, in our context, we can discuss more about that. So now I want to discuss about the types of research. So we can cover some of the most common types of research here. I want to cover here. Let's begin with descriptive research. As the name suggests, the type of research is focused on describing characteristics of behaviors. It doesn't manipulate variables, but instead observes and reports on what is happening in a given situation. It's a descriptive research. For example, we can say a descriptive study might look at new English language learners use social media to practice language skills. The goal here is to simply describe the behaviors or patterns observed without testing any hypothesis. Next, experimental research. This is a type of research that tests cause and effect relationships. In an experimental study, researchers manipulate one variable to see its effect on another. So it usually involves two groups, control and experimental group, to isolate the effects of the variable in its being tested. So, for example, an experimental study might investigate whether a specific language teaching method improves student performance in vocabulary acquisition. So the researcher might apply the new method to one group while keeping the other group's teaching method the same. So then they compare the outcomes. So now let's talk about the correlational research. So this research looks at relationships between two or more variables. So it simply identifies whether changes in one variable are associated with changes in another. For example, a researcher might explore the correlation between the amount of time students spend speaking English outside of class and their overall language proficiency. So a positive correlation would suggest that more speaking time is associated with better proficiency, but it doesn't prove that speaking more directly causes higher proficiency. So here I have covered the major types of the research: descriptive, experimental, and correlational. So these serves a different purpose. So from simply describing um, phenomena or to testing hypothesis and identifying relationship. So I will continue to discuss more about the research in another um, lesson. So thank you so much for watching, and you could know that what is research and what are its characteristics and why do we research and its types. Thank you for watching.